Players coming and going. We will try to catch up with the guys that are leaving, but more importantly, the guys that are projected to show up. Tons of visits planned to Tallahassee. Appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football for FSU Seminoles Live, right here at the Voice of College Football. Mark it down every Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time with Georgitis from the Renegade Report. That's your stop every day for your Florida State football takes. Hey, George, what's going on?
Staying busy, man. The Florida State fan base is polarized over, some of these comings and goings. The portal giveth, the portal taketh. It's like you had that signing day come around where we jumped all the way into the top 20. Everybody's kind of shocked and impressed because the standards were so low. I think with the close that they had on that, I think people's egos and kind of their idea of what was going to happen in this portal, I think it got ratcheted right back up to this is Florida State and the standard is national titles. Hey, that's all very true. But we kind of have to be grounded in what has happened here. They've replaced the whole staff. They brought in Gus Malzahn, Tony White. We got to hear from them for the first time today. Since we went on air, we found out how much they're both making, $1.5 million this year. So all good.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I saw the Gus Malzahn contract stipulation. So, yeah, $1.5 million, and then it goes up from there. Tony White as well. And I didn't get into the legal mess of buyouts and all sorts of situations. Employer ends the contract or the employee ends the status of the termination, whatever. Anyway, hopefully they're around for a while. So that was going to be my question, George, about those guys meeting with the media. So they did meet with the media.
Yeah, they both met with the media back to back today in one press conference. And as you alluded to, saying that Gus Malzahn is making $1.5 million, that's put in simple terms, to what Mark said. He's getting paid like a $200,000 base salary with, that comes with a car allowance and a certain amount of money towards the house and cell phone and things of that nature, with like a $1.3 million bonus on it for this year. And that's how he gets to his $1.5 million. And that's all due to buyouts and things of that nature. Tony White's is a bit more simple, just a straight up 1.5. And then the next year it'll be 1.6. The next year it'll be 1.7 if he ends up being here. But yeah, at the end of the day, they're both making 1.5 million. Gus, though, if it works out for Gus and he's here for a second or a third year, he'll get up towards $3 million. So it will be curious to see how that one works out. But it was going to take a little bit there. But they're kind of risking, it's not like Florida State overpaid to get these guys here. These guys wanted to come be a part of this thing and get it done. Tony White actually took a $100,000 pay cut to come in here. So, yeah, good stuff. Getting to hear from him today. Gus, it was fun hearing him kind of talk and joke around. Somebody asked him about stealing signs in the national championship game. That was all good. Love hearing him talk about, having to run the ball and actually commit to it. And that's going to be something they're going to do and have as an identity. When we've heard that from Alex Saxton's and company a couple different years. And yeah, they weren't really about that life. I think with his track record all the way back, go back to the early 2000s. Yeah, that's what he's done every year that he's been an offensive coordinator since he got started. Tony White, though, for us dealing with Adam Fuller and, not to throw dirt on the man or anything, he was a good defensive coordinator. He got us a shot going undefeated in 2023. But you had this thing called third and Fuller, where we run a 4-2-5 defense, but when you go out there and just your base defense, you rush 4. You don't stun them. You don't do anything. You just rush 4 every third down. And you've got one linebacker playing spy, and the other 5 guys out in coverage. Like, these offensive coordinators, they get paid too much money. Like, it's too advanced. It's too close to what the NFL and what college does. It gets closer every year. And if they ever change the hashes, it'd be a nightmare. Hopefully they never do that. But yeah. And so that was something he really harped on in his press conference. He was like, these offensive coordinators are too smart. You can't line up in the same front every down or you'll never be able to attack the offense. He really talked about attacking the offense, kind of said all the right things. Yeah, a lot of excitement around that. But the transition is You get Gus Malzahn in here, and all of a sudden he goes after a quarterback that nobody wants for whatever reason, and they're all up in arms about it. Thomas Castellanos has been crystal balled to Florida State. You've seen the comments under the videos that we've done on the live, or even when you post the videos on the different segments, people tearing me up. Don't listen to this guy. Thomas Castellanos isn't this. I'm like, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just reading the tea leaves, guys. The dude is the plug and play. He's the creative player, kind of for the, stereotypical dude that could go and run Gus Malzahn's offense at a base level. Would you like to have a 6'4", NFL arm Cam Newton come in? Yeah, that would be great. But at 2-10, whole new staff, it's going to be tough to get that guy here. I know a lot of people wanted Katie Salter. They initially had a scheduled visit for Friday with him. I don't think that's going to happen anymore, according to the rumors and the crystal balls and everything else. Thomas Castellanos, he got here late last night. He's on campus now, I imagine, doing things for his official visit. The kind of hope is that, in my opinion, is that it gets done sooner rather than later. They don't let him leave without committing. But we'll see what happens there. A lot of the fan base, they're really split on this one. And I'd say it's more 2/3 against it and 1/3 like me saying, like, guys, I don't know what people's expectations are out there, but for me, if you can get 7 or 8 wins, that's a big win, and you have something to build on. Maybe you can recruit an elite quarterback out of the portal next year, or whatever the case may be. So the other side of that, it just happened to happen at the same exact time. So people are pretty much equating them going after Thomas Castellanos to losing Luke Kromenhoek, because Kromenhoek has now officially entered the portal, and then he's like the number 1 quarterback in the portal. So it's a pretty ironic sight there. But guys, it doesn't matter if you went and got Castellanos, Salter, the Dampier kid from New Mexico, whoever you ended up going to get. The end result was going to be the same. It's not like Luke was like, Thomas Castellanos? Yeah, not me. No. The kid came in here, Elite 11 quarterback, I'm sure he had his whole football career planned out. He was going to play 4 games, maybe get a red shirt or have a chance to start as a freshman. And then sophomore year, DJU is going to be gone, and he was going to be at the head of the line to fight for this quarterback battle. And then you go 2-10, you burn your red shirt, and okay, so now I'm going to have to brand new offense, all this, and you're going to bring somebody in, a senior that's, obviously going to start. They're not going to bring in the senior guys and transfer that's not going to start. So, yeah, would Luke Kromenhoek have ever came to Florida State if Gus Malzahn was the offensive coordinator? I don't know. Probably not. It's going to be different, and that's one thing. That's another thing that came out of the press conference. Like, we all knew, like, yes, Gus will be calling the plays. It will be his offense. Him and Mike will, work on things, and he'll be a part of it and all that. But really kind of hammered home what I was hoping. We might see more closer toward the earlier days of Gus Malzahn, even in the last couple of years, of like really homing in on running the football, having a quarterback that can, extend plays and hit guys when they're wide open, big guys on the outside, play action things.
So, George, you mentioned that about half the fan base is upset over Thomas Castellanos possibly being
yes, just being crystal ball.
Yeah.
That's him.
Yeah, crystal ball. Obviously, he's visiting. And are they upset because they believe that there's a quarterback currently in the portal that they would rather have, or they're anticipating just a number of guys being better than him that are going to be available, and that Florida State's obviously at a certain standard, certain brand, that they should be able to go top shelf?
Yeah. There's 5 or 6 different guys, pretty much anybody but him. People want a guy that's a NFL prospect, that is somebody that's going to throw the ball around the yard, 3-step and 5-step drop, and also be able to run like some of these other guys that I've named. And it's just, you got to put yourself in their shoes. Some people think Florida State's being cheap, going the cheap route with Castellanos, or settling. I think it's the opposite. I think you don't have an offensive line. You have no idea who your offensive line is. They want to get somebody locked in if they can as fast as possible. And it's somebody that Gus just 100% knows can do what he wants to do for his offense. He's seen him as a freshman, and now has the tape of him for 2 more years. And I mean, They act like he's like got a knee injury or something, and he's like one of these guys who's a senior now and he's a shell of his former athletic self. Like, I don't think that's the case. I think, he gets a really bad rap for how he played last year in Bill O'Brien's offense. Like, the same guy who, I've said this over and over again, like, Alabama got him out of the paint so they could go forward with Jalen Milroe, and he was a Heisman contender after the guy was like, dude, you can't play quarterback for me. So then he inherits Castellanos, and Castellanos is such a stud, such an athlete at 5'9", obviously not a pocket passer or an NFL, type game manager, even close to that. But he still starts him for 10 games until he has got the next guy to, supersede him. Now, I don't know what went on behind the scenes or what the conversation was. Won't speculate. Like, that's another thing that people bring up. Like, he quit. He's a quitter. He quit on his team. It's like, I get you. I guess you could say that, but I don't know. I've never been in that situation where you go somewhere thinking you're going to do this and they bring in the worst possible coach on the planet for you. And then you get 10 games into the season and get benched. Like, I don't know if he quit on his team or if he was, I can't worry too much about that. With how these kids hit the portal every year, like, okay, well, Luke Krumhawk just quit on his team. You guys are all upset you're losing him and you want him back. Like, so, like, whatever.
Yeah, what Castellanos did would have been unheard of even 5 years ago, but it's not today. So do I like it? No, not necessarily. I would like to see players fulfill their commitment to the team for the rest of the season, but is what he's doing out of the ordinary? Maybe still somewhat, but it's very quickly becoming the norm. Very quickly becoming the norm.
There's a bunch of people, like, maybe this situation isn't quite as usual because they make it down the road, but there's dozens of kids. There's a wave of kids, like, the first month of the season, we're like, oh, this ain't going my way. I'm shutting it down, redshirting, not playing the 5th game. Like, so that's, like, really common nowadays. A little bit less at the end of the year, you know what I mean, a situation like this. But, just to extend that, like, it's not the craziest thing ever. I doubt his team feels a certain kind of way over it. It's really rough, but I'm in on it. I'm hyped. That gives me a floor of the program. I see Castellanos getting you 7 or 8 wins. I think make a bowl as a minimum with him if they can get an offensive line in here, but you have to have some kind of vision to sell. It really seems like the vision is going to be running the football with the quarterback and the running back this year. Florida State, one coach they don't have in yet is a wide receiver coach. The latest guy we thought it was going to be was Taekwon Underwood, the guy they call Waffle House, coaching currently with the Patriots in assistant type role. Apparently he's turned it down. Now there's, all kind of other names out there. Tim Harris, Lonnie Galloway, Cody Burns. I've said this about this position from the very beginning. I've heard a million names. I've never been super locked in on anyone. Really seemed like maybe the Taekwon Underwood had some steam. It stuck there for 2 or 3 days, but apparently he turned that down yesterday. So the same as I was talking about these guys that have designs on, playing 2025 and then going to the NFL, like, that are going to risk coming to Florida State for that. Like, you can understand Gus, Herb Hand, and the defensive guys coming in here and thinking they could really turn things around in Gus's offense and how much he's going to pass the ball. Like, how are you going to really shine as a wide receiver coach to come in here for this particular position? You're going to be doing a lot of coaching on blocking. Like, so I can understand why it's maybe tough for them to get somebody in here right off the bat. We'll see. Obviously every hire, every bit of this is vitally important. You want to get somebody in there for recruiting, obviously. But if they were stacking up all the hires on the staff right now for the importance of, building what they can, getting who they can get in the portal, like of having to have something in a rush, wide receiver would probably be at the very bottom of that stack next, special teams, stuff like that.
Well, if any team ends up going 12-0 and they run the ball every play, then nobody cares. But in terms of trying to sell a fan base on an offense, of course, that had the catastrophic season that Florida State just had, it's kind of difficult to sell a fan base on being excited about a run-oriented offense versus what they're seeing elsewhere. But if it's effective, it's effective. And Gus Malzahn knows what he's doing.
Well, the offensive line play that we've witnessed for the past decade, I think they'll be all right. When we start ripping off runs, it'll be a sight for sore eyes. But there has to be, people don't want to see a triple option or just, no, there has to be some kind of passing game. And he alluded to that. There's going to be, a lot of deep passes, play action, stuff of that nature. It's just people's eyes get big when they see those names hit the portal. And I get it. You want one of these top 3, top 4 quarterbacks in the nation. It's just a tough spell, a tough sell. And just, if you just put yourself in the position of that player, it's hard to imagine the Cam Newton Auburn season happening at Florida State next year. It's just not. What elite quarterback with a brain on his shoulders, a brain in his head on his shoulders, is going to put himself into this position in his penultimate year to go to the NFL? I have to tell him you're not smart. It's except for Thomas Castellanos. I mean, it literally puts him in. He needs to be in a specific type of offense. He's got a limited time left. Sorry, I'm caping for the guy. I've had to listen to a lot. I get most people aren't that happy about it, but I think people will be pleasantly surprised. I think we just need to look forward to get that offensive line going. And again, he's not even committed yet. That's just the foregone conclusion, the rumor, the crystal balls, everything is pointing out.
So based on these guys coming in to coordinate the offense and the defense, White on the defensive side and Malzahn on the offensive side, they'll, of course, want guys that they're comfortable with, familiar with, or have heard a lot about and interview along with Mike Norvell to help them coordinate and coach the positions, obviously. So what's open on either side of the ball? And are there any names being thrown out, or did Malzahn and White talk about trying to put together a staff?
I mean, that's it. Wide receiver. That's why. That's another reason I people calm down. Like, they really got this schedule, this thing together pretty quick. Wide receiver is currently the only position open. There's a chance they could restructure on defense, because as it currently stands, there isn't a linebackers coach. That would be Tony White coaching the linebackers. And they haven't stated John Papuch's position yet. So you've got Pat Surtain, you got Tony White, you got Pot Rose, Terrence Knighton, and you've got Evan Cooper. So there's 4 coaches. You add Pap on that, that's your 5th coach. So I think everybody assumes he's going to be back, and if he is, he's going to be coaching special teams. But what will the label be? Will he be a /DNs, /outside linebacker? Not sure exactly how that works, or if they're even going to end up doing it. Are they going to possibly bring Derek Nicholson in from Miami? Lance Guidry gets let go and that thing breaks up. Like, all that's still on the table, but for the most part, it seems like the wide receiver, pretty good chance that's your last time.
George is here from the Renegade Report. Get on over there, check out George's work on the Renegade Report. When is the next planned live stream?
Friday, 7 Eastern will be live for the Renegade Rundown. We'll get into all the names. Sure, we'll have some movement, probably some commitments by that point in time in the transfer portal. Yeah.
Disputed National Champions. That is the book that I have out on the market. You can catch it on Amazon. I've left the link there in the chat. Basically, it's a run through of the 1990s, but it's not a history book. We take this format, we take the results and everything that happened, we put it into light, and we put it into today's formula, as well as all the other championship formats throughout the year. So check it out. It's a fun read. It's only $10. It's 100 pages, easy read. A lot of lists, a lot of rankings, a lot of scenario breakdowns, impact of each season on the landscape of college football, disputed national champions. We also have an Ole Miss channel that we would love for you to check out. We do an Ole Miss show at 2 p.m. Eastern every Wednesday. And we got Ruby Dreher and Leanne Herring and myself talking Ole Miss football every Wednesday. All right. So there's not any kind of crazy max exodus of players from what I can tell in looking through the transfer portal lists. Everybody has a lot of guys leaving, but doesn't seem like Florida State has anybody of consequence. I'm looking at Marvin Jones, obviously. he seems to be the best player headed to the exit.
It's gonna be a young team, and they talked about that in the press conferences as well. Like pretty much anybody that's an upperclassman is hitting the bricks. Patrick Payton, one of the last ones to kind of hold out, but yeah, the thing is, this was a pretty senior led team. Like your whole line, they're all these red shirt COVID year seniors. They're all, the majority of those guys are all wiped out. Your two, big defensive tackles, they went to the NFL. And then you get to the transfers. All the guys that, were part of this building from high school and building the program, yeah, that backbone's all leaving. Jackson West, tight end, Jarrell Pyers, tight end, Brian Courtney, tight end, Darion Williamson, 17th year wide receiver. The guy they call Boots, Lamont Green Jr., defensive end, gone. Julian Ormella, the legacy, third or fourth year offensive line, was a blue chip from that 22 class. Just never got on the field except for to save the flag. So shout out to Julian Ormella for snatching that Florida Gator flag out of there before you hit the bricks. Destin Hill, a guy that took 2 years to get to campus, but just a freak athlete. Somebody FSC was super excited. Held a scholarship for him for 2 years while he got his things. Private life squared away. Gets here, gets hurt at the beginning. Or I can't even remember. Was it camp? I don't even think he made it to a game. Anyways, he gets hurt, and now here you go. He's sitting in the portal. Omar Graham Jr., the linebacker who started the year off playing 50 snaps and not recording a single stat, which is like, it's got to be some kind of record for college football. It was insane. 50 snaps, nothing. Not an assisted tackle, not a holding, nothing. But he ended up getting better. This one was a kind of surprise. He could have been kind of like something to build around in the linebacker room. He hit the bricks. Amarion Cooper's a guy who went to Colorado and came back. Started as a true freshman, showed a lot of promise. Like a lot of these guys that Mike Norvell and Fuller and Atkins brought in, they show a little something as a freshman, but they're worse as seniors. Guys like Robert Scott, who played his butt off his whole career, but could never get healthy because they could never afford to take him out of the game. So he never got to really develop. And that's kind of an indictment of that previous staff, of course. But you mentioned Marvin Jones Jr. I mentioned Luke Cromahawk earlier. You look at your defensive end, Byron Turner Jr. is probably your most promising defensive end on your roster. He's out of here. Tomiwa Durajaye, the kid that came in last year, for whatever reason, he's got all the size and ability. He didn't get on the field. I don't know exactly what was going on. He wasn't good enough, didn't translate or what. But, yeah, kind of the core of what have been this next team, it's out. Like, there isn't going to be much left. It's going to be bare bones, a lot of true freshmen and true sophomores. Main. Your Hakeem Williams, your Micah Hydanzis, hopefully, Wayne McCoy, people like that.
What do you think the chances are that Norvell and company get into the portal here and grab somebody that's going to ignite the fan base, that's going to get people excited, whether that's some kind of playmaking wide receiver, it's the next version of Keon Coleman kind of guy, Jared Verse, somebody of that, just to kind of be a lightning rod or a guy that everybody rallies around as being a team leader, a superstar that can kind of be the core of the team?
I don't know. I would have liked to have thought that, and I wonder how the team feels about it, to be more surprised if they can land Castellanos, but obviously that ain't going to do it for the fan base. There's the defensive end, James Williams, who's a rising star, the guy who's so enamored with Terrence Knighton and so close with him. Like, a lot of people think he's going to come. That'll be a big boost in the arm if he can commit. There's the wide receiver that everybody in the world's after, Reggie Virgil, but I don't. Again, in the position they're in, those particular guys, like you mentioned, the absolute stars. Like, it's one thing to sell going from 7-8 wins or 10-win season to a playoff competitor, 2 wins to get those guys. It's going to be tough, to answer your question. I think the most important thing is kind of the guys like Marcellus Marshall from UCF, offensive lineman. I guess Princely, I'm not even going to try and say his last name. Unamelion. That one? You got an Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about, but it's almost like the Tennessee quarterback. If I haven't said it for a day or two, then I forget how to say it. Yeah. I'm going to pull that together. I'll let you know here in about 2 minutes when I figure it out. Ooh, yeah, I'm gonna look at it. Yeah, I know exactly. They've got like 4 brothers. Like I got tripped up because we were going through the transfer portal the other day, and I thought that dude already plays for Ole Miss. Why? And I kept checking the year to see. No, this is top 2025. What? All these other guys are in the portal. Why is this last year's? Who is this? Oh, it's his brother. And then I find out he's got like 4 brothers, and they all have the same name, pretty close to the same name.
Yeah,
Prince.
it's a tough one. It's a tough one too. Uh, I'm not gonna try it again. But yeah, if they could land that one, which the insiders are insiders, quote unquote insiders, if you look at On Three and things of that nature, they're trending towards Ole Miss, I think, with their crystal balls. But I know for a fact there are some FSU people that are pretty confident there. We'll see. It's a tougher sell, but there's a lot of hype around that defensive staff. Hopefully they can get them in there. I think that would qualify. And another one that just popped in my head, the wide receiver, former 5-star wide receiver, Deuce Robinson, son of, Florida State legacy, Dominic Robinson. If they could get something going there and get him, that could be one that really kind of rattles the ground. If you're to believe Gus, there's some really elite guys that are super interested in Florida State, but he also said he didn't steal those calls, or they didn't have the calls in the first half of the national championships. We know that's a lie. So,
Okay, I've got the letters formed in my head. I'm almost certain this is it. Uman Mielen. I think that's how he pronounces his last name. Uman
okay.
Mielen.
I think
So
I
you
left.
got Princely,
I
you
left
got
the third
Princewell.
consonant got me. I left that one out.
Yeah. Deuce Robinson. That guy can play. I watch a lot of USC football, and he's a nightmare mismatch. Don't look at his stats. He doesn't have great stats. I think he caught about 25 to 30 passes. But my goodness, throwing the tape against really anybody. Look up his best games statistically. Yeah, he's a guy that he's got the build of a tight end, but you can line him up out wide and he'll be a mismatch. The one consideration I would say, in terms of, I totally get your point and totally agree that, wow, this is tough to sell to a superstar, but there's a ton of respect and love for Tony White on the defensive side of the ball. And there's obviously, I don't want to discount the love for Gus Malzahn. I think it's more respect for what he's accomplished, and obviously being a former head coach who's played, taking a team to a national championship game. That you've got weight at the offensive and defensive coordinator positions that hardly anybody in the nation has.
For sure. And it's going to help you. I think, and that's what's exciting about it. I think there's just certain positions, they're super shiny things that, the quarterback,
Sure.
the senior wide receiver, a young kid like Deuce who's already, and they can see the future. They can be a part of building it back and getting back, like James Williams, some of these other different people. I totally get it. And there's going to be plenty of people, like maybe top ranked offensive line from the JUCO level, from the FCS level, et cetera, that are going to be all in to jump in. I think the most important thing about this class, and something that really stood out, somebody put up, a meme basically making fun of us. They showed Luke Cromenhawk, the number 1 transfer portal quarterback, and they showed, Castellanos is like the 12th or whatever. We fell down that hole of looking at, we got 10 blue chips out of the transfer portal, and it was all these young guys from Alabama or Georgia that were transferring. Well, they hadn't done anything on the field, but we thought they were this and that. We really believed it. That they had the blue chips. Well, turns out when you're getting guys out of the portal, the most important thing is just proven ability to do it, regardless of whatever level they are they on, or they playing snaps and going out there and executing. And that's what I'm looking for Florida State to go get this year. And again, hopefully we start to get some guys to pop. There's a tight end, Terrence Carter, that they're after, that I think Mike Norvell was comparing him to Jaheim Bell from last year. So plenty of guys out there.
All right, folks, we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. And we really want to let you know that George does a hell of a job on his channel. That's all there is to it. The Renegade Report. And George is here for us each and every week. Of course, I'm displaying my book there, just trying to shove it down your throats there, because I think it's good. Disputed National Champions. You can look it up on Amazon. And again, the links in the description section. We appreciate Mike Myrick's always here for us. But again, George is tearing it up on the Renegade Report. And I didn't need to keep you any longer than that. I just wanted to run through the transfer portal and make sure we're up to date on everything. And now that I know that Malzahn and White have talked to the media, I'll go back and listen to that myself. Very good. All right, George. Well, we'll let you go early unless you got anything else to talk about.
No, if you like it, I love it, man. Like you said, get over it. It's just the Renegade Report. Super easy to find, even if you don't type that in. If you just type in Renegade Report on YouTube, it'll come up really easy. Hit that like and sub. We will really appreciate it. We're about 100 from 3,000, so 3,000 subscribers is a pretty big milestone for us. Also, while we're on the topic of books, we had Javian Elliott on the other day, and he has a book out as well called Unconquered Walk On. So if you remember Javian Elliott in his time at Florida State, he was out of football for 3 years. Came to Florida State as a preferred walk-on. He was only here for 2 years, ended up earning a starting role. Goes as an undrafted free agent, ends up a starter for the Tampa Bay Bucks. So cool stuff. Go check that out as well. Unconquered Walk-On. When you go check out Mark's book, and support everything FSU football. Give us a like, a sub. Check out all the books. Do all the things, and we'll be here next week.
I typed in Renegade Report. It's right at the top of the page on the YouTube page. So get on over there and please subscribe. Get to the next live stream.
If you want to hear Jen and Deshaun bag on the quarterback decision as opposed to my positivity, go check out that video on the quarterbacks over there.
All right, George, appreciate you being here. As always, we got a Miami show, everyone, at 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you in about, 20 minutes. Thanks, man.
No problem, man. Go Noles. 8 months.